When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Hey folks, Madame la Prof here today on March break. And I have to admit that the last couple of weeks have been a bit of a gong show on my end. Like, I'm not trying to compare my level of intensity when it comes to work to someone else's. I'm not trying to say that what I've got on my plate is worse than someone else's. No. I'm just saying that for me, my plate was kind of like, you know, when you go to the buffet and you say, I'm going to take a bit of this, and I'm going to take a bit of this, and I'm going to take a bit of that, and oh, that really looks tasty. And then you go back to your table, and then you realize, I may have overfilled my plate. But that's all good because I managed to manage. Is that a bit redundant? Yes. I managed to get through my plate one bite at a time, but last week was probably the biggest of bites. Today, I'm here to talk about the other part of my teaching life, which is being a leadership teacher and a student council advisor. And that was a huge chunk of my last 2 weeks. Planning, creating, and organizing activities and events for not just my own students, but for the entire school. How do you do that during a pandemic? And although I know for some, the pandemic is kind of like ending, but it's not. It is not ending. So how do you do that when you have restrictions? How do you do that when you cannot have students amass together, unless it's in their bubble, a lovely bubble of 30 students? Try and social distance and do activities when your bubble is 30. That could be an entire other video, and I think it has been. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that trying to plan student life activities is hard enough when you are not in the middle of a pandemic. It's even harder when you are trying to respect all of the restrictions and the rules that are in place to protect the well-being of all members of the school community. So this is what I came up with. So this is what you see here, February Fest, is what I basically created and concocted with the help of my student council members. Basically everything you see here was given the student council seal of approval. Starting with the first day being Pride Day, where they wear school swag, their hoodies, their sweaters, shirts. Some of them have toques, some of them have pajama pants with the school logo on them. And the activity that they had to do was a virtual escape room challenge. And what I did the morning of the event, I basically had to send emails to all the teachers, and they would get the virtual escape room. And it was basically just simply a Google slide, and they had images that they had to click and solve puzzles, and each level had their own puzzle. Planning for the virtual escape rooms took a lot of time. I think 2 weeks before the actual event, I started thinking, how am I going to do this? I started shopping around, looking on websites where teachers had created virtual escape rooms, and none of them pleased me. So I had to build them from scratch. I inspired myself from a lot of pre-existing virtual escape rooms, but I could not use some that were already made ahead of time. Tuesday was Pajama Day, and we had a Black History Month virtual assembly that was organized by an outside organization, and they created one for us. I'm going to wait until Wednesday to explain the grad homeroom ball. Wednesday was Pink Shirt Day to support anti-bullying. And if teachers clicked on the link that was here, it would bring them to an informational flyer with the activity that students had to do. But if we go back, what happened those 2 days for seniors only, so for grade 11, every year at my school, they have something that is called the principal's ball, which is different from prom. It's basically a mid-year dance for grade 11s only. For grade 11s only. But obviously with the pandemic, we couldn't do this dance. We couldn't do this event. So we had to think outside the box. So we figured, well, why don't they just have a little period just for themselves? One day, would treat them to pizza, bring them soft drinks, bring them ice cream sandwiches for dessert, and that would be their day, their afternoon. So they dressed up, they glammed up because it's glam day, they dressed up. Some guys wore suits. They were looking on point. They wore suits, and it was just for grade 11s. Thursday was, how do you get students to do outdoor activities with other students without compromising their well-being? You do something akin to the Hunger Games. So it was basically the St. Thomas Hunger Games winter edition. So they had to have 2 reps per homeroom, and they would compete with other homeroom students from the same level. And we basically did silly obstacle course type races. If you're familiar with the concept of the field riot, the gym riot, basically races like carry a ping pong ball on a spoon from one end of the snowy field to the other, the toboggan pull, carry a dodgeball with like 2 hockey sticks without dropping it. And it was crazy. It was amazing. That's how much fun people had, because they were falling in the snow, butt first, face first. It was just one of those days where, you know, thank God we had snow and it wasn't slushy or wet. It was just amazing. And when I say each homeroom or level has a theme to dress up, theme to be determined, each homeroom came up with their own theme. We had students that coordinated the night before, okay, guys, wear all black and silly socks. It's like, you can't plan for things like that. You can't, you give the kids a theme, an idea, and they just go with it. And the last day, we finished with Pajama Day again, because we have 2 separate days, an A day and a B day. If you do Pajama Day on one day and the other students didn't get to do it, they're not happy. So they want to have their Pajama Day. So we repeated Pajama Day on the Friday, and we finished with Trivia Challenge, a mega music and movie challenge where students have to guess songs that are played, clips of songs, and they range from the 70s to the 2010s. And they have to guess, just like with like a 2-second clip, and they have to guess it. And the same thing with the movie challenge. There were old movies like from the 70s and from the 80s. Yes, I know. If you're watching this and you're my age, 80s is not that long ago, but it is long ago for these kids. And the Kahoot game, it wasn't for all students. It was 1 participant per homeroom, because I wouldn't be able to handle 1,000 participants in Kahoot. So that was basically my week that involved planning for every single day, make sure not only that the activities happened, but also that I fielded any question that my colleagues would send my way. So you better believe that all of these activities were accompanied with lengthy emails explaining every single thing to all my colleagues. So I don't know how you teachers at large are planning events and activities during this very bizarre time. I mean, I thought it was a challenge just to try and plan events for 500 students. It is really difficult to come up with original activities and original events that will be entertaining, will be fun, will create these bonding experiences among students, and make sure that we're not compromising anyone's well-being, anyone's safety. So I would like to know, in your school, in your province, in your city, in your state, in your county, in your school, in your district, what are you doing to create those moments where students can be engaged, motivated to stay at school, and has I don't want to say have nothing to do with the curriculum, because a lot of these activities, they count on a lot of cross-curricular competencies that, yes, can be developed and worked on, in a classroom setting, following the curriculum, but they shine. Those cross-curricular competencies shine when you do other activities, when you do the activities and the events that do not fit within the curriculum. So that's what I shared with you guys. You let me know in comments what you have planned and what you're planning on doing, or what you did in the past. And on that lovely note, folks, have yourselves a lovely day. And if we don't see each other before the end of March break, have a lovely March break.